Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joan McGrath, and I'm the Executive Director here at Plan of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and I'm joined by Kathy Vitello, Director of Operations, and as I always say, more importantly, a licensed social worker. We waited till 12:03 to let more people join, so thank you for your patience. I've been with Plan for almost 14 years, and Kathy has been with Plan almost 10. So we've had a lot of experience in special needs trusts and trust administration. So hopefully we'll answer some of your questions. So the learning objectives, to gain a deeper understanding of what a special needs trust is, understand why a special needs trust is beneficial to you and your family, and learn the responsibilities of a professional trustee such as Plan. So we do ask that if you have questions, if you could drop them in the chat box, and we'll try and answer those at the end of the presentation. So who is Plan? Our history dates back to the early 1960s when a group of parents with children with disabilities got together looking for ways to advocate for those children. They expressed concerns, fears, and anxieties about the future of those children. And Kathy and I still meet people today expressing those same concerns. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We were incorporated in 1971. And we are the oldest and largest special needs pool trust in New England, 50 years in business. I like to say we're the world's best kept secret, but we're in the last 2 years trying to change that, trying to get our word out. So our mission, we proudly serve people with disabilities, lifelong or related to illness, injury, or age, helping to preserve assets, to protect benefits, and to live well. We live by those words, and we're hoping to explain the points throughout the presentation.
So a special needs trust is a vehicle that families can set up to for the future of their children, so that when the time comes, funds can actually go into the trust, not ever hit the beneficiary's hands, so benefits aren't impacted. And Joan, in a little while, will talk a little bit more about the different options for doing that and how to do it. People often ask us, is this a legal thing to do? And it is. It was under the federal regulations in 1993, the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act, which is referred to as OBRA, and President Clinton signed this, and it allowed for these kinds of trusts to be set up. It was initially intended as a supplemental needs trust, but at the end of the day, we hope that these funds in the trust really improve quality of life for people. These trusts were intended for funds to be able to be put aside to supplement those needs and allow people to maintain their public benefits or to become eligible to for public benefits. And as we go through this presentation, Joan and I will refer to different beneficiaries that we've worked with over the years. One is, Jane, who's in her 40s, who suffers from autism and lives in a group home. And in her particular case, her parents supported her until they passed away. And it was their estate through their life insurance that the funds were available for the Special Needs Trust.
So what does the Special Needs Trust do? It protects the beneficiary's assets and preserves their eligibility to public benefits. It allows the family to plan for the future, knowing that their loved one will be provided for after they're gone, or even allowing the relationship to be a healthy one by front loading a trust, putting money in a trust now, and to sort of see how it works. And then provide the beneficiary with resources to improve the quality of life.
So often Joan and I meet with families or even professionals that they talk about, when they're doing their estate planning, they immediate knee-jerk reaction is, I'm going to name, Susie to be the trustee for John, or vice versa. And it places a responsibility on the sibling, and sometimes they feel like they can't pursue their own goals and do the things that they wanted to because they have this responsibility. And in many relationships, whether you have a disability or not, money can be the root cause of a lot of conflict. And families really want to keep those relationships together. You want, your person to feel like they have somebody to go to, somebody to advocate for them, somebody just to spend the holidays with, and stay close to their families, so. And the other important thing about that is that often there's so many rules with benefits that Joan and I deal with on a daily basis. In each benefit, whether it's Mass Health or Medicaid or Social Security or the supplemental Social Security income or even public housing, they all have their own set of rules. They don't always agree with each other. And people will often, without knowing it,
jeopardize those benefits. And
Right.
we have found that to ask a family member, the sister of a beneficiary, to take that on can be overwhelming. And we've met people that reach out to us and say, I can't do this. And, that's one of the ways that they come to us.
Right. Or we had a mother who went into Social Security for the review, and they asked very nicely, oh, where did he live? And, does he pay rent? And does he contribute to the food? And as a parent, you say, no, I take care of all that. And he lost a portion of his benefit.
Right.
So that's an important part of being a trustee. So the Journal of Disability Policy Studies reports that an adult with a disability requires 29% more income than the average person, which is approximately $18,322 a year to maintain the same quality lifestyle that you and I have. So you need a supplemental needs trust to set that up and cover the things that aren't covered by your benefits. People on public benefits need to meet the poverty guidelines that are set by the government. So in Massachusetts, it's $2,000 in assets, and in Rhode Island, it's $4,000 in assets. Public benefits have a lot of wonderful aspects to them, and there's many programs that you can't get into without your public benefits. So your special needs trust is a way to have those funds that are set aside and your benefits are protected so you can access those programs, but still have the funds available for the things that aren't covered.
So the key there is that you need to have those assets in a trust that cannot be accessed by the beneficiary. So as Kathy said, to live on $2,000, that's, the person is impoverished. So you really do need to plan to make sure that you can supplement those needs.
Yeah, so people, when you apply for public benefits, it's a job. They're asking you for all this documentation, and it takes a long time. It's a big process. But when people have public benefits and they go off their public benefits and they have to reapply, it's even more challenging to get back on those benefits. So according to the CDC, 26% of adults have a disability in the United States. 2 in 5 adults age 65 and older have a disability, and disability costs and healthcare expenditures can be up to $11.7 billion in the United States. So current and future needs really need to be addressed when thinking about benefits. So if we look at that supplemental Social Security income, which is referred to as SSI, it's what they call a means test, and that's where they're looking at your assets. If you look at that benefit and what you get monthly over a 40-year span, that benefit could be equivalent to $375,000 to $400,000. So it's important that you do the proper planning.
So types of special needs trust that we offer. We offer the first party or D4A trust, a third party standalone trust, or a pool trust, which has a first party component and a third party component. The D4A is the one trustee, one beneficiary, and the third party standalone is also one beneficiary, one trustee. And the pool trust simply means that there is many beneficiaries and one trustee, but that's just for investment purposes only. Each person that's a member of the pool has the what they call a sub account, and anything that they put into that or take out of it is just theirs. We pool it for investment purposes because of cost. It's costs less to pool it all together. We also have something called a future funded trust, which would be a third party future funded. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So examples of ways to fund a trust. There's the third party trust. You can use life insurance, inheritances, and the first party trust could be settlements. The key is if it's a first party trust, the money belongs to the beneficiary. It has been inherited and a third party trust wasn't set up. So then now that money belongs to the first party person. They need to put that into what is a first party trust. And that would be subject to Medicaid payback if the person's on benefits. Third party trust, there is no Medicaid payback. So clearly the way you want to move forward is to set up what's called a third party trust. You were getting in front of what might come along where, you know, your parents or grandparents want to put in their will that they want to leave money to their grandchildren, one of which is Jane with autism. The money can be put into what's called a third party trust, and it's set up as a third party trust for the benefit of Jane. And then there's no Medicaid payback. So when the parents or grandparents pass away, the money can fund right into that third party trust. So now that you know a little bit more about special needs trusts, how do you choose the right trustee? Money in a special needs trust is a non-countable asset. S&Ts protect eligibility for public benefits and allow for a higher quality of life. Money spent from a trust is to supplement needs not met by public benefits. So trustee considerations. What services are needed now and what will be needed in the future? What technical skills and knowledge are needed as the trustee? And being a trustee can be a full-time job. Does it an individual in mind have the time to dedicate to it? And the trustee is a nonprofit organization such as Plan. So we touched on a little bit of these up to this point. So I don't know if you want to talk about our case.
Yeah, so there's in another case where we had, you know, Melissa and her parents had set up a special needs third party trust for her. They named a family member as the beneficiary, and the family member
Trustee.
I'm sorry, as the trustee, yeah. And the family member was battling her own health issues at the time, and she just felt like she could not navigate this. So she shopped around, and she came to Plan specifically because of the service coordinators who are all licensed social workers. It was also less expensive at the end of the day for her when she was comparing fees.
We can talk about the one we just had a conversation with. The brother called us, and he discussed having his brother be the beneficiary and how difficult it is to say no to his brother.
Yeah.
Often his brother will ask questions. Can I have this? You know, I want a car, or I want, and the brother has to say no. And, you know, we can call one Greg and one.
Right, and then this creates conflict, and or the brother who's the trustee doesn't want the conflict and will just give the money out, which now impacts the benefits.
Right. And so in a way, reaching out to us, he said now he can be just the brother. He can be that support, that advocate for his brother. Up until this point, it's been a contentious relationship.
Right. And then, you know, we had another situation where the family picked a sibling to be the trustee, and that sibling got a job and moved across the country. And the family the parents began to realize that it was a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
And they wanted the siblings to be able to live their own life and have a good relationship. So,
Yeah, to have to learn the benefits and I mean, that takes years. I still learn something every day, but it takes years to learn the benefits and how not to negatively impact them, to know what, you know, tax returns need to be filed, or forms that you need to complete, or what is it called? Redetermination. You need to fill out those
right.
paperwork. I mean, there's a lot to it.
And the accounting that has to go with it.
Right. So features. Oh, okay. Using a professional trustee can help. Removes the responsibility from a family member. All trust-related investing, accounting, taxes, and other fiduciary reporting are handled in a professional manner. Professional guidance of the use of trust funds to protect eligibility of benefits and security, knowing that the funds in the trust are used for the sole benefit of the individual. All funds need to be used for the sole benefit of the individual. So it's important that annual statements are issued and that tax responsibilities are handled, that the person that's doing it understands the benefits. A professional investment manager is evaluated annually at minimum. We actually use currently Webster Private Bank, and we meet with them quarterly to review our overall investment. And then quarterly, we need to discuss each individual beneficiary that's invested as part of plan. So there, we've heard countless stories of inappropriate use of funds when there's a family member involved. It could be the family member, or it could be a friend of the beneficiary that is taking advantage of the beneficiary. So you do need someone to be knowledgeable and a social worker that's involved, but also compassionate and understanding, but really aware of the pitfalls that the beneficiary is facing. So features of special needs trusts with plan. We require no minimums to establish a trust. We understand that banks or attorneys, often you'd have to have $1 million, $1.5 million in order to have a trust have a professional trustee with one of those organizations. Banks, I think the lowest that you could possibly have would be 500,000, and you'd be paying a point to point and a quarter for the investment of those funds. That would be just for the investment of those funds. Here at Plan, we pay 75 basis points, and that's what we were trying to express by saying it's less costly to invest the money at Plan. But also with Plan, you have licensed social workers on staff that would serve as the primary contact. If you're with a bank, you would not have the licensed social workers on staff. And if you were with an attorney, you probably would be paying attorney hourly fees. So it's something to consider. As it goes on in the slide, it says we operate as an all-inclusive model. It includes review and payment of disbursement requirements, professional fund investment, annual accountings, tax preparation, statement preparation, and service coordination. And that's our key difference, is the service coordination piece. So professional trustee services covers annual statements, processing of weekly disbursements, tax information related to the trust collected and forwarded to our tax preparer, tax forms, grantor letter, first party trust, K1, third party trust, the 1040 preparation. The trust is responsible for filing the annual 1041. So the beneficiary would receive what's called the grantor letter if it's a first party trust, and if it's a third party trust, they would receive a K1. And then they would take that when they go to visit their accountant, and when they file their 1040, they would provide that information. So if it was a large trust and there were money earned, the person would include that as part of their 1040 tax preparation. But most of our beneficiaries, some of them don't even file taxes. So they would get this form, file it away, because it wouldn't be enough to file a tax return. So that's something we could speak to each person individually, because we always advise that you use a professional when you're taking on this, either as an attorney to help with the joinder agreement or the instrument of trust, or if they're filing taxes. Social workers are experienced in public benefits, and they work with all ages and all disabilities. We have people that range from 5 to 105, and they all come with their own set of circumstances, and each social worker is experienced and knowledgeable and will be equipped to deal with people, whatever their disability is. And as I mentioned before, where it's all funds are professionally managed.
So our social workers, the team of social workers is 8 nine social workers.
Yep.
And collectively, there's probably over 200 years worth of experience in this office. They're all well-versed in the world of disabilities as well as the world of public benefits. And we take a very holistic approach to the trust. And, you know, in order to serve our beneficiaries and make sure their needs are met, we need to get to know them. So we'll, you know, once a trust is funded, we go out and we meet with the beneficiary. We also meet with whoever their support person is at the time. And we do assess their living situation. We want to make sure that they're being well cared for, they're in a safe and clean environment. And then we look at their public benefits because we want to make sure that they're accessing everything that they're entitled to. And we look at their current needs, and we also look at what some anticipated needs may be down the road. And then we look at what their wish list is. And then we develop what we call a spending plan, but it's really a guide. It's a live working document, which we use to guide us with investments and to help kind of teach some fiscal responsibility to the beneficiaries. For future funded accounts, what we do is once the joinder agreement is signed, we have a social worker contact the donor, whether it's the parents or grandparents, and we fill out what we call a life care plan, which is going to tell us all about the beneficiary, their family, their providers, their needs, their benefits, all of those things. And then at the very end, what the donor's goals are for those funds. We will take that into consideration. You know, we've had many cases where, like in Jane's case, she was really very interested in music, and her social worker worked with her and her support person, and they found a music program for her to go to. We've had other people that have been interested in art. We look at, you know, pet therapy, music therapy, massage therapy. We have people that have physical issues where the massage therapy or Reiki is really helpful and comforting to them. So we also watch out for who's submitting those requests. What are they requesting? Because it's really for the beneficiary's sole benefit. So if he wanted a TV and he lived in a group home, that would be okay. That's what they call a secondary gain. But if he lived in a group home and they wanted a brand new patio set with lounge chairs and 6 chairs, and that's not sole benefit. So
Yeah, so
provide that oversight.
really be careful, right? So one of the things with we were talking about with the donor is they can decide what happens at the end of the life of the trust. So if the beneficiary were to pass away, the donor decides where that money goes. It could be left to other grandchildren. It could be left to, it could go back to the donor. There's just a number of options. And we don't take a fee. We do have people that would like to leave money to the nonprofit, but it's really your decision where the funds go, siblings or whatever. Okay, so you've decided you want to move forward with plan. How do you get started? So for a D4A or third-party standalone, we always advise that you use an attorney to help. And for the pool, we highly suggest that you use an attorney. Sorry, we have some technical movement happening here, so I'm having difficulty reading it. You've decided you want to move forward, so give us a call and we talk about your individual situation. You know, we have different options where you could send an email or go through Calendly. Our website has a lot of information, but you know, taking the first step to get more information is, we hear very helpful. We don't charge for phone calls. You can call as many times as you'd like. You can talk about what benefits the person's on. You can talk about how it would work, you know, just to gain an understanding. So if you don't have an attorney that, you know, you've decided, okay, I want to set up a trust, but you don't have an attorney, we can provide attorneys in your area that would specialize in, Kathy always says, you don't go to your eye doctor if you've broken a bone. And that's what we advise, that you use a special needs attorney because they know what's involved. Once you've completed the paperwork, you can go online, fill out the application, you work with your attorney. At that point, then you can deposit funds, or if it's a future funded, you would take the language and use it in your will, or another family trust document, whatever you need in order to fund the trust for that person with the disability. And then once the the trust is either funded or it's established for the future funded, you would then meet with the social service coordinator on staff. And as Kathy said, they'll go through everything to do with the beneficiary. So tools that work well together. This is, I'm going to let Kathy take it from here. ABLE account and special needs trust. And we have a lot of questions related to this. So
yeah, and they actually work very well together. It's a great partnership. So ABLE is achieving a better life experience, and you have to have been determined disabled prior to the age of 26. You can only have one ABLE account. So with a trust, special needs trust, there's no age limit. You can be any age and you can have as many trusts as you want. You can also, with ABLE, only put whatever the IRS gift tax rate is, and currently that is $16,000 a year. The only exception is it can increase a little bit if the beneficiary is working. With a pooled trust, you can have as much as you want in a pooled trust. It could be 20,000, it could be 20 million, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And with the pooled trust, when we talked about benefits and all those different rules, when we talk about the Social Security Supplemental Income, the SSI, there is a rule in there that says that if you pay for food, housing, utilities, they call that in-kind support and maintenance, and you can get a decrease in your benefit for that. However, ABLE says that that's a qualified disability expense. So you can pay for those things out of your ABLE account. ABLE says that you can use ABLE for qualified disability expenses, where with the trust, especially these trusts, you can use it for any kind of quality of life issue as
supplemental needs, yeah,
as well as your supplemental needs. So, co-payments or things that aren't covered by benefits like hearing aids or dental work, those kinds of things. But you can also do vacations, music lessons or anything like that. That's okay with your trust, but with ABLE, that's not a qualified disability expense. ABLE has what they call a clawback in it, which means from the date that you start the ABLE account, now Medicaid has liens against those funds if anything happens to the beneficiary. And as we mentioned earlier with your third-party trust, there is no payback. The donor is going to tell us if anything happens to the beneficiary, this is where I want these funds to go. Your special needs trust can fund your ABLE account as well.
So they work really well.
Yeah.
Really well together. So as I mentioned earlier, we don't charge for calls. We totally understand that this is a major commitment. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We see our role here is to provide you with the options that are out there for you. So we encourage people to call us, talk to us. You don't necessarily have to go with us. We believe that for us, we are the best option for a special needs trust, but we're not trying to sell you something. We're just trying to tell you what your options are. So currently we have a special offer that we will waive the $500 enrollment fee for third-party special needs trust established by April 30th. We really want to talk more about your options. So I guess we have a couple of questions here. How would it protect assets from a long-term care excessive costs? How would it protect assets from your long-term care excessive costs? So I think we talked about this. We were saying that we probably need some more details on that.
Yeah, if I was to take a guess,
Yeah.
That would be looking at anticipated needs down the road, right?
Yeah.
So the special needs trust would help with that. But that's only a guess on my part. I'm not 100% clear what the question. is
Yeah,
looking for.
so part of having a special needs trust is you are protecting assets. Once that money goes into the trust, it's protected. So it's an irrevocable trust, and it allows the funds to be spent for the sole benefit of the person, but it's as a supplemental. And so the person would then remain on benefits, be it in long-term care or in the community. So next question, if one divorced parent has a trust set up, does the other parent have to create a new trust? No. As many people as you want can deposit funds into a third-party trust. So, you know, and we come across this a lot. Parents are divorced, but their child is still the most important person to them. And they want to work in harmony to protect that child's benefits and allow that child to have the best quality of life. We've had siblings question, oh, I can't believe my mother deposited into an account my
Right.
father set up.
Mhm.
But they understand that it's really for the benefit of the beneficiary.
Yeah.
Okay. Irrevocable trust, revocable trust, enable account. Do they all need a federal EIN registration? So I can speak definitely for the irrevocable trust. Yes. The revocable trust, I imagine that is a yes. And I would guess that the able account is a yes. I don't know that for sure. But I would think so.
Especially because it has a Medicaid clawback in it.
Right. Does anyone have a flow chart or matrix of types of trusts and funds that have a pro and con coverage list? I haven't seen one, but we could certainly put something together. I mean, what we work with, I mean, we sort of already laid it out for you, but yeah, maybe the matrix would be more helpful. So we can certainly do that. We will be sharing this webinar with you after. Maria's going to be sending it out in an email so that you can refer to it, and we'll add some other electronic forms. You know, what is a pour over will and is it helpful? I have no idea what that is. I would suggest that you reach out to your attorney to get details. I will be asking our attorney what that is when we have a call once a week with her, so I will check. How do we protect personal funds from long-term care pillaging without an irrevocable trust? I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Public benefits, you know, they have a transfer penalty, a 5-year look back period on them.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how you would do that.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. Yeah. So
with your trust, you don't have those issues.
Yeah, there is no 5-year look back for the trust. But again, if you want to send something further to clear up what you're asking, we can move forward. Can we get a e-copy of your presentation? Yes, absolutely. I have established a supplemental needs trust for my son 2 years ago. My father recently passed away and his estate has deposited some money into my son's trust. These funds are the initial funding this trust has received. My son is still a minor and lives at home. We have not accessed any of the funds from the trust this year. Do I have to file a 1041 this year? Should I use a tax accountant experienced in supplemental needs trust? Can you recommend any accounts on the South Coast? Okay, so definitely should work with your accountant on this. If the money is invested, you would have received a 1099, and that's what you would use to file the tax returns. So I'm not sure where the money is, if it's being held in investment, but again, this would be somebody. And can I recommend accountants? I think is what you're asking me, on the South Coast. I don't know any accountants on the South Coast, but we could reach out to an attorney and get a special needs attorney and try and see if he can refer somebody. I'm not sure, is there a way we can contact that person? Okay, so I can see the person's name, and if there's an email address, I will respond to it. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, I have a beneficiary IRA. I was left by my father. Am I able to use the IRA to fund the trust? The fund is left to her. No, it's to the mother, not of the. So if you're the special, if it's your trust, you can use that IRA to fund the trust. If you're setting up a trust for somebody else, we need to talk more about that. But if the trust is for you, then you can use that. It can be set up as a special account, and then we can take the minimum fees. Not
Minimum
fees.
distribution, the required minimum distribution.
Yeah, RMDs, I'm sorry. So we can talk more about that. We can reach out to you, or you can reach out to us, and we can try and talk a little bit more about that. But we do that. We do take IRAs. Is there a cap on amount one can have in special needs trust in order to not lose government? There
Nope.
is no cap. You can put as much in a special needs trust as you would like. The social security number of beneficiary is used for ABLE account. Oh, thank you. Yep. So Scott Scales has answered that question, that he confirmed that yes, the ABLE account does need an EIN or social security number. It is invested. Oh, okay. So the next is an answer. Okay.
Right, so we have 2 more questions.
Okay. If the beneficiary has been on Medicaid for years in a first person trust, they could end up losing all of their money repaying. So if the beneficiary has been on Medicaid for years in a first party trust, they could end up losing. So yes, so if the person has a first party trust, then there is a Medicaid payback. That's why we're telling people, hopefully through this webinar, people are hearing us, that you need to set up a third party trust. So that money that is put into the third party trust, there is no Medicaid payback. It's just all planning. So I am not sure, Laura, what specific you're talking about. If it's, you're trying to let people know that if they set up a first party trust, I'm not sure. And then you're saying, how is plan funded? So if you're talking about the trust itself, each person invests their own funds, or a loved one invests funds into a trust set up for the beneficiary. So again, first or third party. If you're asking how is Plan the organization funded, we charge an annual fee, and we collect that quarterly. And it's based on what's in trust, what's held. And I'm not sure what yes means. Oh, she's saying how is Plan funded? So yes, we take a fee annually. It's spread out quarterly. We take it based on what the amount is in trust. So when you get to a certain dollar amount, then we do a step down, and each time every a dollar over a certain dollar amount, we take less fee until we get to a certain amount. And at that, we just charge what it costs us to invest the funds. And I'd be happy to talk more in detail, or if you go to our website, I think, is the fee scale listed?
It's in the informational guides.
Okay, it's in the informational guides.
That's all the questions.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions or more detailed questions, or you just want to talk, feel free to give us a call. Can they see the page that has the contact information? Okay, so you'll see, you can reach out to Kathy or myself directly. We're happy to answer. You can go to info, or you can make a phone call, and we'll have somebody. We're also on Calendly. Check out the website, but don't hesitate to reach out. We hope to respond within 24 to 48 hours. Oh, can you go over the fee structure? Okay, so up to the first 500,000, it's 3%, and that 3% covers the social services piece, the investment of funds, and the trust administration, which is, the gathering all the information for the tax returns, weekly disbursements, conversations with the power of attorney or the support people, going over the benefits, the social service coordinator, meeting with the person on a regular basis, however much they need that, telephone calls. Over that, once it goes up another 250, it drops down to 2.25%. And then the next 250, it drops down to 1.75%. And the next 250, it drops down to, I'm not sure how far up. Once you get to $2 million, it's 75 basis points. And the 75 basis points is our cost. can you go over the K1 distribution and, oh, that you mentioned? Okay, so when you have funds invested, so we have 7 strategies where the money is held in 7 strategies based on the person's life expectancy, the disability, the what their expected needs are, what their needs are currently, and they fall into one of these strategies. Then the money is invested, and earnings or losses or whatever happens within that investment, that money then is distributed out through what's called the K1, and that money is then, or whatever the effect is of the gain or loss or the interest, goes to the personal 1040. And that K1 then is taken to the accountant who does the person's tax preparation for the year, and they will use that. As I said before, many people that are part of the trust don't file taxes. They don't have enough income or don't show enough. You'd have to have quite a bit of money invested for that K1 to kick you into filing a tax return. So, so that's the personal 1040. The 1041 is the trust tax return for that person's individual special needs trust, and we file that on this end. That's done by Ernst & Young, actually prepares them for us.
Is it 3% yearly?
So it's an annual fee of 3%, and it's taken out quarterly based on what's being held. So as I said, if you were to go to a bank, you would pay the fee. Also, it would come out quarterly, but that would just take care of the investment of the funds. And then you'd have to pay a separate fee for the social services piece. If you wanted that, you'd have to pay a separate fee for the trust administration. If it was with an attorney, you would pay whatever that attorney's fees are. And then that attorney would actually have to hire social services to come in and make sure that your child's fingernails are trimmed or, okay, is your 3% fee typically covered by dividends? Yes. So, I hate to say, so say if we had a 15% return this year and we have a 3% fee. So, but I can't guarantee that we'll continue to have excellent returns. So we grew by literally millions this year, the full trust, because of what's happening with the market. So the 3% fee, that's our goal, is to cover that 3% fee so that you're not paying 3% over above what you've earned. So, and as you all know, the market has been doing very well, and we also did very well this year. So I'm not sure if I had mentioned, we have 750 beneficiaries and 66 million in assets under management. We do use a professional investment advisor. I think that's it. Yeah, so again, if I didn't answer the questions well enough, or if you have more detailed questions, please call us. And I guess what time is it now? It's we're leaving you with 15 minutes to enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.